All right, welcome back. Hi, everybody, and
Hi.
welcome to our latest episode podcast. Again, for those who don't remember, I'm Roddy.
I'm Mandy.
And today, again, we have two very special guests from Puerto Vallarta. We have Christina and Manuel. And like we always, we'll just let them start by introducing themselves and maybe just give us a little background.
Sure. So my name is Christina. I'm originally from Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and recently moved down to Puerto Vallarta in February with our two children who are 5 and 6 years old.
My name is Manuel Arturo Hernández Salazar, Enrique Alonso Ladrón de Guevara Fregoso, but you guys can call me Manny, so that is easy to remember. I'm originally from Puerto Vallarta. I took a huge adventure at living at 21 to Canada, and I lived there for the last 21 years. I just dated myself, but we're back here in Puerto Vallarta and living the life.
Nice. So I guess starting off, we'll start with Christina. How long have y'all been back in Puerto Vallarta?
So I've been visiting this beautiful city for the past 10 years or so, but it's always been vacation, 2-3 weeks every year. Never had an opportunity to really live in the city, and living in the city is completely different than being here on vacation.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, it's very different. So we kind of tested it out last summer, and we're here for 2.5 months.
Okay.
And now we have officially moved here, and we arrived February 1st.
February 1st.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we've been here a few months.
I got the whole family's here.
Whole family's
Settled in?
here. Yeah, we're all settled. Kids are in school. I'm working remotely. Everything's great.
Okay, perfect. And Manuel, I know you have a little bit more of a different story. So you were originally from here, right? Then what took you to Canada?
I always felt that Vallarta was too small, and I wanted to, go looking for fame and fortune elsewhere. See, I feel like I came, I saw, I conquer, and I'm ready to come back to my roots. I feel very happy here. The one thing that I missed the most was family.
Sure.
All of my family's here. My friends, my connections. I realized that there was something missing, and they're all here. And I was just, crossing my fingers, hoping my wife would like it, so they could stay here a bit longer.
Nice. And so was it work? I mean, was it just the sense of adventure that took you out there? And what made you decide Canada, right?
It really was. I was originally meant to go to England, to go to university there. But then I figured Canada's a lot closer. It is outside of Mexico, which was the only variable I wanted. Just leave and experience life outside of my own culture. Canada came as a really good option because Victoria, that's where I went to university, has one of the best weathers in Canada.
Okay, nice.
That is cold. So I chose Victoria, and once I graduated, I just stayed, and I decided to, make a career out there.
Okay.
And now that I feel that my career is well established, I feel like I want a really big change in my life.
Nice. And do you all both still work remotely?
Well, I don't. I actually decided to take some time off. I'm in the process of establishing a few businesses here in Vallarta that I always wanted to do. So I'm taking the opportunity to do this. My wife still works.
Yeah, I work 100% remote for a Canadian company, and I'm lucky enough that they have been more than accommodating and supportive of all of our lifestyle changes.
Nice. In what field, if I may ask?
Sure. So I administrative
Okay.
for a company for a headhunting and placement agency.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And now, I know, Manuel, you said you were thinking about starting or looking into some business here.
Yeah.
If we may, I don't know if it's too secret. What type of business, what time are you looking into?
Absolutely. I'm starting a ghost tour here in Vallarta.
A ghost tour?
Yeah, a ghost tour. That's never been done before. I've already started it. I'm just waiting for the high season to really launch it. It's something that I always figured it will be a really big hit here in Vallarta.
Yeah.
Every city you go to, there's a ghost tour. Boston has like 25. Like,
wow.
It's just a segment of tourism that was just never really catered to here in Vallarta. So
I don't remember I have seen any ghost tour here.
Yes.
There's a food tour, boat tour,
city tours,
beach tours. I've never seen any ghost tours. Yeah, sure, it's older town, a lot of stories here.
Exactly.
Right.
Sure.
And you have to add the dimension of the Day of the Dead, all the culture that has been now being shared with the rest of the world. Now it's become really big fashion, the Day of the Dead. So there's a lot of folklore, a lot of culture to be shared with, and I want to do that for all the foreigners. Besides that, we're having a management company, property management company, and also we're looking into potentially do something that you have experience doing, which is flipping houses here in Vallarta.
Oh, wow.
Flipping houses here.
Exactly.
Nice, nice. Yeah, but the first thing that when you said the ghost tour, for some reason I thought like New Orleans, because it kind of has that old, very, has a long history. I'm sure there's so many stories you can just pick and choose from.
Absolutely.
Some you've already done the research, you've already put it together, you have the company ready to go.
The tours are ready to go. We've already tried them out. We already took a lot of people out there. Every single person that went on it got 5-star reviews. So I think we're on the right track.
Nice. And how about now flipping houses? I know we've heard some things about flipping houses in Mexico. What's the process like here? I mean, are you familiar with it at all?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a little different because I've looked into it in Canada as well. Completely different when it comes to the legal stand. The taxes stand is a little bit easier to do that. The tougher part here is that to get something and to make it pretty and then resell it is not something that a lot of people do here.
We've noticed. Yeah.
They don't renovate. They just take it as cheap as possible and then they sell it as cheaply as possible. And then the person that buys it like with so many fixes needed.
Sure.
So that's something that they're not as used to. I don't think that the market has developed to what it is in Canada and the US.
Right.
You buy a fixer-upper, you put us in some money, and then it looks really nice, and you sell it for a huge profit, right? Here, they're not used to it, so it's almost like you're breaking a barrier.
Nice.
It's what maybe in the U.S. or Canada was maybe 50 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe they asking for some special permit, especially for any historic buildings.
Well, those I haven't encountered that too much.
No?
We're looking at areas outside of the city.
Okay.
So the urban areas don't really have that problem. What we do have a problem with is permit for building renovations and stuff like that. So I don't know if you have actually experience with bureaucracy and red tape in Mexico.
Oh, yeah, a little bit. I mean, we've got residency, which is enough of bureaucracy just to get that.
that will give you a taste.
Yeah.
It's something that you want to really bang your head against the wall sometimes.
Yeah, any bureaucracy, I think anywhere.
True.
Wow, that's interesting. I mean, we always like to see what people's background is, and how they come back. And so, Christina, how have you found adjusting to living in Mexico? Because I know, like we talked about earlier, vacationing is one thing, living is much different.
Absolutely. Well, I absolutely love it. I love the culture. I love the people. I love the language. I love the lifestyle. It's so different. And having grown up in Montreal, we have that like East Coast mentality. Go, 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 fast paced, big city. And then here you have that West Coast vibe, right? Kind of like laid back, surfer, like beach. So just that in and of itself is completely different.
Sure.
And then my Spanish is not very good. So it's the language. I have to try to learn that. There's a lot of expats that do live here though. I can get by with English, but I don't want to.
Sure.
So that's been a bit of a struggle. And because I work remotely for a Canadian company, I don't have quite as many opportunities to speak Spanish on a daily basis. So definitely some struggles there. And much like Manny pointed out, I have discovered that a big thing here in comparison to what I'm used to is the way people, the culture just go about doing things in certain time frames. In Canada, in Montreal, if you need to be there, if the meeting's at 10, you need to be there at 10 to 10. Yeah. And if you're not there at 9:50, you're late.
Yeah.
Right? Everything is immediate and it's done super quickly. And here, people have the time.
Yeah.
And so it's really a learning process to adapt to the culture and to learn to be patient. Because if I'm not patient, it's only hurting myself.
Sure.
So I kind of have to undo my wiring a little bit, but I think all in all, that's probably a lot healthier.
Sure, I think so. And I think that's a pretty common frustration, I think, with a lot of expats who come here. I know back in the U.S., Canada, things tend to be a little bit more punctual on time. Here, it's they always talk about the mañana culture, or when will you be there? Ahorita. But what does that mean? Well,
my favorite phrase is he's on his way.
He's on his way. From where? Where is he? Is he stopping anywhere on the way?
Probably from
walking from Mexico City.
We've definitely run into that same situation, and that is one of the things that most people have to get adjusted to.
Yeah.
Right. So we got language, kind of the pace of life. Any last one you want to throw in there? Anything that's been a little bit maybe any one you can think of? Because I know those are two pretty common ones.
Those are two pretty common ones. I think. Well, I guess because we live in Vallarta, definitely the weather.
True.
But that's unique to Vallarta.
Yeah.
There's two seasons here, hot and hotter. That's about it, right? Because all the humidity just kind of pools here between the ocean and the mountains in the bay. But thankfully, we have air conditioning. So.
That does help.
Like the humidity, the heat for people. Most people, it takes time to adjust.
Absolutely.
Like you need to do your work, live your life according to the weather every day.
Exactly. Yes, and I'm used to 4 seasons. Our entire life revolves around the weather, the seasons. Everything from the way we dress to what we eat depends on the weather. In Canada, what you eat in winter is completely different than what you eat in summer.
Yeah.
And I'm also of English, Scottish background, so I'm adapted to cool, gray, rainy weather.
Right.
So it's completely different, but I love it. The lifestyle is different. When you have sunshine all the time, people are just happier.
I think so.
Yeah. Most people live in the tropical area, they are happier.
Exactly. More laid back, happier. I don't think seasonal depression is as prevalent here.
There's only one season.
Exactly, because there's only one season.
And Manuel, like, I know people have talked about it. I think I even kind of experienced it myself when I went to China and came back. Did you come back a few times during, obviously. Did you come back quite a bit, or was it like kind of intermittent?
No, we try to be here at least once a year. There's a few times, there was a few years that I couldn't because I was too busy or too poor. But we did almost, and as an average, once per year we were back here.
Okay. And because I was trying to get to did you kind of face that reverse culture shock, like being gone for so long and then coming back? Yeah.
Every time I felt like even my language, being in Canada for so long, coming back to Vallarta, I would lose some of my words when I was speaking to my friends. And my friends was like, "Oh, you think you're too good to speak language now, eh?" And I was like, "I wish you would stay in a different country for years, and you'll see yourself." I'm not that I think I'm better than you. It's just the culture reverse shock here. One thing that always shocks me here is the way people drive. And I drove here for the first 20 years, which is particularly normal, absolutely normal, what they do and what everyone does here. But then you go and experience 20 years of more organized, orderly fashion of driving. Everybody follows the rules.
You have to stop on it.
You have to stop on the stop lines, and red lights are not suggestions.
Yep.
But here, every day is like, oh my Lord, it's just. You need to relax, and you need to know that you're not in Canada anymore, and that is always a shock to me.
Yeah, same. I think just not the same in the culture sense, but again, when I first came here and drove, it's just everything is a suggestion. Where you park, stop signs, stop lights. It's just if you want, but you don't have to. Right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, but once I've gotten used to it, I can pretty much drive in most Mexican towns. But it's definitely something. If you come to Mexico and want to drive, be ready for a whole different world.
Absolutely, yeah. People will cut you off, and that's perfectly normal.
Yeah.
So you can't get upset at that. It's just, and then in turn, you can get to cut people off, and then they won't be upset with you.
Yeah, like my mom came, and we go through stop signs, and she was like, Rod. I was like, that's the way it is. Like
Exactly.
Yeah, because if you stop, you're actually more likely to probably cause an accident with somebody hitting you from behind.
Exactly.
Oh, that's fun. Definitely an adventure in that. And so I know you mentioned you brought your family, and you have how many kids?
2.
And the ages?
They're going to be 5 and 6.
5 and 6. Okay. So and you put them into primary school?
Yeah, they're starting primary. My eldest, who's turning 6 in August, she'll be starting primary school in September. Okay. And right now they're in kindergarten, preschool.
And how has that transition been for them?
Honestly, pretty good.
Yeah.
We originally started them in school in Canada that was completely in English. Mm-hmm. And then when they started primary in Canada, because they started at age 4 in the province in which we lived, they went to full French.
Okay.
Wow. So that was a huge shift for them. And that was probably the most difficult time for education in the very short few years they've been around. They struggled quite a bit, not so much with the French, but with the culture surrounding that education system in and of itself, because they went from a Montessori style education, English. We speak English at home all the time. We just default to it. So that was an easy transition. But then switching to French, where it was stricter, more of a traditional education style, and then in a language that they don't know, even though I've read them stories in French, they just And then, so it's coming here and then learning Spanish, but going back to that daycare style Montessori, I think it's the education style that they've adapted to quite a bit. We just had an event at the school earlier this week for both of my children, and I could still see my son, who's the younger one, who's about to be 5, is completely lost. He's just wandering around, doesn't know where to go. So he hasn't quite grasped the language yet, but it's only been a few months. But the education style is much more liberal, and they seem to have adapted quite well. They're so happy when we pick them up from school, so that's really good.
Nice.
So what's the language the school teach them?
It's 50-50, half Spanish, half English.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
Is it an international school? Or is it
No, it's a local school. It's in Versailles.
okay.
Oh,
Private.
It's private.
Oh,
private.
Okay, private school.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
And then my daughter will also be going to a private school next year, a different one.
Yeah,
This one's just
as I heard about it in Puerto Vallarta, there are many good international schools here.
Yeah, there's a lot of schools that have a lot of expats and they have their kids there. Last summer, we had them in a different school, and 90% of them were from all over the world, not locals. There was just a few Mexican kids, but most of them were from all over the world. We found people there from where was Iceland?
Iceland, Finland, Germany, Austria,
a lot of
US and
Canadians
Canada.
Americans.
Yeah.
You know how many international schools here? Like for people, maybe the family want to move here. Are there many choices or pretty limited?
There are quite a few choices. They're all private, of
Yeah.
course, but there are quite a few choices. Schools throughout the time that my husband has been, familiar with Vallarta, schools have opened and closed. At one point in time, there was a Canadian school that taught English and French. Unfortunately, that's not here anymore, but there are a few well-established schools that have been around for quite a long time that have English and French, are good international schools. My daughter will be going to one next year called Amayali. That's been around for
60 years.
a very long time.
Wow.
Actually, the founder was just recognized on Women's Day as one of the great entrepreneurs of the city, having founded one
Historical entrepreneurs.
Yes, and having founded one of an award-winning education program here. Yeah.
And then for your, go ahead.
No, so I would just ask one more question that people might be curious. So as you did some research about the cost of the international school. Like what's the average cost?
Average is
monthly or yearly?
I would say $250 to $400 a month. Like the more expensive ones.
Sure.
Okay.
There is one really expensive one. It's called the American School.
Always.
And they follow the curriculum of the U.S.
Sure.
and they give them a beautiful school, great resources. Everything is brand new, but it is about $1,000 a month.
Oh wow, that's a lot.
So that's a huge gap between that and the average. So all the average schools private here, they are between. I would say you wouldn't go over $400 US a month.
Which I think is pretty similar to Queretaro.
Yeah, but
right?
Queretaro, the JFK American
I don't think it's
school, I don't think it's 1,000.
Right, that is a huge jump.
It's
it
a
is.
massive jump.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very exclusive, and most of the kids there are from the U.S.
Sure.
because they want to keep the curriculum of their country.
And so for the research that you all did, and the school that you put your kids into, was it solely for just the proximity, or was there something special about it?
No, we took into a lot of variables, and the most important variable is that in 3 years from now, we intend to live in Canada and in Mexico.
Right.
So the biggest questions for us is, can we work with the Canadian institutions? And if we're going to be here for 5 months out of the year, can we work that way? Some schools were like, I don't know what you're talking about. and some others, of course, just the months we're here, you guys will follow the curriculum of Canada, and we'll give you, they're so used to it. They were telling us, no problem, we've done it before, we do it for you. We do it for a lot of countries.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, that's great. You guys have experience with kids that are only here for 4 or 5 months out of the year, and the rest of them are in their home country.
Right.
So that was the most important variable for us. There was
That's
about
true.
3 or 4 who are very well versed in that, and the other ones, maybe they don't have as much experience with it.
And one
So
more,
for those schools, they can do half year? Do they charge you for a year, or you just pay
just
half
for the month?
That's fair.
Exactly.
As we know, some schools that say, no, you can do that, but you're still gonna pay for
while you're
a
gone.
year.
And those were the ones that were inexperienced. The ones that was like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. If you want a space, you have to pay the whole year.
Right.
And I was thinking like, but we're only gonna be here for 5 years. And it's like, nope, we're closed. Like, no.
Mm-hmm.
And now there was like, yeah, no problem. You just tell us which months, and they were very open to work with us.
And that's what it should be. Because I think they should be understanding that there's going to be situations like that.
Yeah.
Right? With families who are international, they may want to go back and forth.
Absolutely.
And now my question escaped me. About the school. Oh, the timing. I know we talked. We're already kind of end of June, end of June. Is school kind of year round, or is it just a special summer program for kids?
So the education system here has been extended in the past little while. So they used to go from September to, early to mid-June. And in the last little while, they've extended it. So now they go from September straight through to July. So they only get 1 month off. They get August off. That's the time when, in all of Mexico, most kids tend to travel and do things at that point in time. But then there's a lot more breaks throughout the year. They get 2 weeks off during that time in Easter. They get 2 weeks off at Christmas. I think in May, they're off a lot. We're off a lot in May.
Okay, so they get a lot more of the extended vacation.
Exactly. But having done the comparison, I think they're in school 3 days less here compared to education system in Canada. So it really does balance out. It's just in Canada, they're off in July and August.
Sure.
Yeah.
Kind of like the U.S. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So here you only contend with 1 month of them putting them in camps or daycare or whatever, right? If you're still working at home. In Canada, you have to really think ahead of time to put them in this camp or that camp, and you have to reserve 2 months ahead of time.
Sure.
It's a lot. Here, no problem. You just show up. Hey, can my kid get in there? That's fine. So yeah, it's a lot of time off in between. A lot of Fridays off, a lot of Mondays off for the extended weekends. But the trade-off is they're going to be there for the whole month of June in school as well. July, sorry.
Okay.
All right, I think one more kids question. Maybe we can move on. For people who have kids want to move here, maybe they want to know, are there good enough activities for kids after school, like during the weekends or holidays? Where you take your kids to?
Fantastic question. There's so much to do in this city, and for any budget. If you just want to take them to the beach, it doesn't cost anything. You can go for lovely nature walks in through the mountains, and there's tons to see and do. People here are very community oriented. It's easy to make friends and make connections, and people are always willing to say, come over, use the pool at my condo, things like that. So there's a lot to do. And then also with the schools, when my daughter starts next year, they have a lot of after school programs. She can, and it's incorporated into the tuition. So it isn't extra unless she wants to do soccer. That is extra.
Of course.
But football, it's a way of life. Yeah. So you understand. But she can do chess club and cultural dance and football, soccer, different things like that extend for after school. And just recently, we started looking into Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. There's different dance classes. There's a lot going on.
There's a lot.
That part of the school or the extra? Like outside the school?
The Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the Muay Thai, like the ballet dance classes, that would be outside.
Outside, okay.
But traditional dance, football, soccer, chess club, robotics, I think was another one. That's all within the school.
They give you 4 options, though. So it's important for people that are thinking about coming with kids. Schools typically run from 8 a.m. to between 2 and 3 p.m.
Okay.
So that's a school day. With the school that we're looking at, they have the extended time for 4 times a week, Monday to Friday. You can leave them there and pick them up at 5 p.m. So it's almost a full work day at that point. The kids finish school, but then they do the after-school activity. So that will be chess or soccer or
something they enjoy and kind of. So it's not
they
really
stay there, exactly.
You
so
choose to get
you can drop them off at 8, pick them up at 5. They finish class. They went to their after-school activity all before you even pick them up, and that's good. They get tired.
Oh, we know that one. Yeah. So we're getting
Always
to that point. Yeah, where we're getting him ready to go to school. But yeah, definitely getting the energy out is a necessity.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And so I know we're talking about in the summer break, and that's when kids go travel. Have you all done any traveling? Other than Puerto Vallarta, have you been to other parts of Mexico and traveled?
We have so far. So we've seen a few of the beach towns.
Mm-hmm.
You just drive along the coast, Guayabito, San Pancho, all the way along. They're beautiful, and each one really is different because the beach is different, the culture is different. You can go to Sayulitas, where it's really more of this surfer vibe, and then just a little further, you can go to San Pancho, which is more of a family-oriented community, and they're 10 minutes from each other, if that.
Yeah, they're not far.
That
Not
totally
that far.
different. And then we've been to Michoacan, the state of Michoacan. We've been to Tacámbaro, along
Guadalajara.
there. We've been to Guadalajara. The city is not too far away. And now that they're finishing up the major highway to Guadalajara.
Oh.
So before it was a long, windy road through the mountains, taking about 5.5 hours to get there and leading to a lot of car sickness because of the winding roads. When that highway opens up, although it is a toll highway, of course, the beautiful highway and can get you there a lot faster, an easier drive, great to be able to get to the city and explore that. And there's tons to do there. Great family oriented.
Yeah, we've been to Guadalajara. We love it.
Yeah.
I even think about maybe we can also choose that as another destination to live.
Exactly.
Do you know what they're estimating the time to be?
Yeah, the highway.
From point to point, from Guadalajara to here.
Once the highway is ready, it's about 3 hours.
Oh, so
It's to
cutting
Puerto
off,
Vallarta.
Yeah.
So
cutting off about 2 hours.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which is nice.
And that's just the 2 hours. It's the 1 lane and 1 lane where you were stuck behind a slow truck. It could be 6 hours, 7 hours before you get to Guadalajara.
And then of course, I think I even heard about worst case scenarios. If there's an accident on the road.
Yeah,
then you're stuck. Then you're stuck.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, and are they? I guess. Are they going through the mountains? How are they?
Yes, they are.
Tunnels and
and that highway is going to go all the way through the south of Vallarta too, so it's going to cross. So Vallarta will get its own highway, which is really cool.
So more traffic in Vallarta.
Well, I hope less, because then all the little side roads will be not as busy.
Okay.
People will be taking the highway
The
with
main
the
road.
exits, right? But yes, the highway is taken away from the beach towns because they're going to bypass them all.
Sure.
But those beach towns have, the charm of, grabbing the people and bringing them in, so they feel a little conflicted that they're going to take all the traffic away, but they're still, will the economy be suffering for it? We'll see how it all turns out.
See how it goes. Huh. Country. And so, any other place that you've been to or enjoyed?
We've been to Playa del Carmen.
Okay, other side.
Yeah, other side.
A little different, right?
Very different. Completely different. And of course, Mexico City as well.
Okay, nice. Any wish lists of places you haven't been to yet?
Yes. When we visited Playa, I didn't get a chance to go down to Tulum and visit some of the more natural areas, like the pyramids. I didn't have a chance to see any of that, unfortunately. So I'd love to be able to explore that.
They extended to Merida as well.
True.
Little area over there that we didn't really have much chance to visit.
Yeah.
Yeah, to the north, right, or to the Gulf side.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Exactly.
But now being here a few months, I'm hearing all sorts of wonderful stories from his aunt and his uncles and his family saying, we should go to Mascota. They have amazing sweets and food there. And we should go here and we should go there. So we have a very long to-do list. And I don't know if we're going to be able to hit all of the places, but hopefully.
Yeah. Vallarta's lucky that we are within range of 3 magical towns.
Right.
The magical towns, designated by the country. So San Sebastian, Mascota, and I don't remember the other one though, but we're close by.
Yeah.
So it's nice to think that we can just go spend the day there, and it's a really nice place to visit.
And it's we haven't been there. Again, they talked about it in the little tour we took, but it gets such a change, right? Here you got the beach and everything up there, up in the mountains and the jungle. It's supposed to be a little better and very nice there, from what I've heard.
More historical, and it's just a small little town. But they call it magical because the town remains the way it used to be.
Right.
So there's no McDonald's there. There's no Walmarts there. It's the way that it used to be. And they're really nice to go visit. It really is like traveling back in time.
Yeah.
I think we can also ask them, as I heard, Rod just told me, and you bought a condo in Versailles. Can we share some story if it's not too personal, like how you found it, why you want to buy a condo here?
This will be
And why that area?
Yeah,
And why that area?
why private sellers.
Absolutely. Do you want to embark upon that story?
I'll do the technical part, and you do the feeling part.
Oh, okay, that sounds good.
So it was a pre-built, so I pre-sell. I was one of the first ones to buy that particular building, and it's been 3 years, and they still haven't delivered it yet. But the nice thing about that is that the property itself has more than double in price.
I'm sure.
Versailles has been growing quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's been gentrifying, a lot of buildings going in there, so it's skyrocketed the price out there. So in that way, we did really good investment because we like it there. Very central location as well. Everything is there. Gastronomic route. Lots of restaurants that are really highly rated. They're all in Versailles as well. It's just a pretty cool place to live. So we made the investment. It's a bit of a risk to buy pre-sale because a lot
3 years out.
Especially 3 years out. But in this case, it worked out really, really well, and we're just about to receive it within a month.
Oh, nice.
Wow. So you bought this 3 years ago?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
We've enjoyed we've only been there a couple of days in Versailles, but we've enjoyed the food there. Just a couple of places we went to. It's been like we enjoyed the food in the Atlantic Zone. It was great. We had some great fish tacos, all that good stuff. But I don't know, just something there. I've been to maybe 4 places, and they've all been like just like
pretty
wow.
good.
Yeah. I think I even told her. I think of all the pastor tacos. I know this is a weird. When they have pastor tacos, like whatever. I think those might have been the best pastor tacos I've had. And it was just a little side restaurant, a little side street restaurant. And I was like, not just here. I was like, the best pastor tacos I've had. And I was in Versailles, just a little small
You have to get the name of that place.
Yeah, it's Machouk number 2.
Oh, okay, perfect.
They look like holes in the wall.
Yeah.
Versailles also, you can throw a rock from one coffee place to the next one. Too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's just a lot of foreigners moving in there as well. So to cater to all of those foreigners, it's becoming really high end.
Yeah, we've noticed that just by there we could see all those little not high rises, but the buildings going up all around us.
I saw a lot.
Yeah.
And the streets names are all named by some European city and countries. Cities.
Yeah, we live in Vienna. Vienna Street.
Oh, Vienna. So which street we are?
We are on Lisboa and Nizza.
Lisboa and Nizza.
We went there once to do a little tour just to walk around, and we walked down
Francia, Berlin. That's also your city
even
names.
here, this is Paraguay Street.
Oh yeah. Right. We're in the Latin American countries.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's a good area.
And so, what was the process like? As far as the actual buying, I mean, was it pretty smooth?
My husband, the industrialist.
I think it was. The most important part is to make sure that whatever proposal is, it's legitimate. And the best way to kind of go about that is to ask them for all the legal, do you have the permits? Can I see the permits? Do you own the land? Can I see the land? Who owns the company? Can I see the owners? Have you done a building before? Can I see it? All those things are important because in Mexico, it's buyers beware all the time. All the time. You cannot just go absent-mindedly the way you think things are done in the U.S., where you have a lot of legal protections, layering. You're purchasing a new home, for example. Here really is buyers beware. So you just need to be maybe working with a realtor helps as well. And if you do that, honestly, the purchase was so easy and fast. I did a transfer. Like, $300,000 one-day transfer. Like, I've never done that in Canada.
Oh, wow.
And that was it. It was bought. It was purchased. It was as simple as that.
Did you work with any real estate attorney
or
realtor?
No, I didn't because I'm local, so I enjoy the privilege of having multiple connections. Though, right? So from the government to lawyers. And I just send that to my friends, the lawyers, the president, and all the staff. Was like, does this look legit to you, right? And after they say, actually, I know one of the owners. He used to be my neighbor, and like you find those connections in Vallarta. There's like everything is like maybe 2 degrees separation from you and anyone else.
So it was a reputable builder.
It was, the entrepreneurs, it's 4 of them that decided to do that building. They're pretty reputable here in Vallarta, so that's what made me go for them.
I think that's what I've noticed about Puerto Vallarta. It's just it's a small town, but kind of a big town, small town kind of feeling. It's kind of weird because it's that weird little just under 300,000. I think is the official population.
True, 1 million people with the whole area, but you're right with the small town mentality where everybody kind of knows anybody. Even if you don't directly, you do it through someone else, especially if you're local. if you're local, you find that connection rather quickly.
Okay. And so, and you said it's doubled in value, right?
Yes.
Which is pretty nice. Cause I said, and I know looking down the line, you said you're planning to stay here for 3 years. Why 3 years?
So a lot of it has to do with the kids' education. It's really important to us that they be trilingual and be exposed to the different cultures. Being a English Montrealer in a province that's primarily French, we're considered to be a bit of a minority and a subculture in and of itself. And I'd like for them to experience and live that culture, be exposed to the language. And I feel like there's a window of opportunity for them to get to learn these languages when they're young. And then later on, they may struggle a little bit. But a big reason as to why we wanted to move down here was also for that. It's one thing for them to say, you know, I'm Mexican, meaning that my father was born and raised in Mexico. It's something else for them to live it, to have direct ties here. I want them to be able to have those ties to their culture, their background. I think that's very important, especially because my family has been in Canada for 8 generations.
Wow.
Canada, although beautiful, you tend to not have those cultural connections anymore. Mm-hmm. In some ways, that's beautiful. But in other ways, I feel like you lose an essence of yourself a little bit. So I want them to have those roots. And that's very important to my husband, to his whole family. The reason why we ended up being able to be in a spot to invest and purchase a place here was because of an inheritance. His grandmother, who basically raised him, passed away a few years ago. And we thought, after a long deliberation, we thought how best to honor her, but then by using that to keep roots here and to pass that on to the next generation. And then to also bring that back to Canada as well. So that's why about 2-3 year window, considering the age of the children right now and the opportunities that we have available to us at the stage that we're in our life, and then to move back and forth.
Oh yeah, no, it's important.
It's a good plan.
Yeah. I think we try to do the same with our son as far as being the trilingual, try to keep all those roots there and learn everything. I think it's important. I think it's a good tool to have, and for lots of reasons, right? Not just pick up to talk to communicate with people, but like you said, just the roots that it kind of brings and kind of keeps that line of history in place, right? Which is very nice. Now, are you and your children residents? And maybe your children, because of Manuel, are they able to get like dual citizenship? Is that anywhere in the conversation?
Yeah, so they're dual citizens.
They're dual citizens.
Yeah, we made sure to get that established in Canada not long after they were born, so they have their passports and everything. I am now a permanent resident.
Okay.
Because apparently, and I discovered this while we were going through the process, it's a lot faster and easier for me to become a permanent resident through my children's citizenship rather than through me being married to a Mexican. So if originally we're going to go through with the marriage certificate, and that was going to take quite a bit of time, a long process, and they asked if my kids have dual citizenship, I said yes. They just needed proof of one with their Mexican birth certificate and a copy of their passport, and within 2 weeks, I got permanent residency.
Wow, that's
wow. And
good
so,
to know.
Yeah, because I know for everyone else, like on our side, we have to go 4 years before we can get permanent. 4 years temporary, then to temporary. Correct. And then I think, I've even kind of had the idea down the line, then if I want to become dual citizen, get the dual passport, I think you have to be in Mexico for 5 years. I think I have to wait an extra year, right, to apply to have the dual citizenship. Okay. So it's a little bit much longer process. Yeah. Right? And so now you're permanent resident. So what is the next step? Are you also planning to get dual citizenship?
I would like to get dual citizenship. I think that there's a lot of value to that. I think I have to wait 2 years. 2 years. I have to wait 2 years.
Speak the language.
I just speak the language.
Oh, that's right.
So I have 2 years to learn Spanish.
So, I know I've kind of looked it up a little bit, but maybe you can enlighten our viewers. What does it take to become a dual citizenship, to get your Mexican passport? Obviously, you said the language.
Yes, the language is the biggest thing. Now that I'm a permanent resident, I have to be here for 2 consecutive years. Okay. And then after that, there will be a language test and I think a history test. Yes. And then after that, I think that's about it.
Pretty much it.
Yeah. Also language history test.
Yes. Yeah.
And do you know what that involves, a language test? Is it just basic communication? Does it give you
Basic
certain?
communication?
Basic.
Yes.
Okay.
Just so that she can order tacos in Spanish.
I can already order tacos in Spanish. Priorities.
It used to be that you need to prove to them you can make a tortilla, but not anymore. It's just a conversation thing.
The times have changed.
Got it.
Nice. I mean, again, very interesting. I know I think we've covered a lot of really good details. I think things that we haven't covered in our few other podcasts we've done with guests, which is great. We love it. And any other any questions you want to ask? Last ones?
Um,
Or if not, I was just going to say, any
Go
last
ahead.
piece of advice, for people out there who may be considering Mexico, what they might consider moving here, why they should be moving here. Any advice y'all would want to offer, our viewers?
If you come with an open mind, ready to embrace new experiences, new cultures, new delicious food, but also keep your wits about you. Remember, you're not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy. There's a world of opportunity here, and just embrace it. It's worth it.
Nice. Manuel?
In the more logistical side, it can be a pain to open up a bank account, for example. So you need to navigate those things with, okay, what do you guys do for bringing money from the US to Mexico, right? So those can take a little bit of time to kind of get settled. But once you have a permit or permanent resident, you can open up bank accounts instead.
Right.
Otherwise, you have to use other ways of kind of establishing those things, right? Driver license in Mexico, well, as long as you have your US or Canada, it's considered valid here too. So maybe insurance, for medical purposes. If you are American, you can get insurance here. Everything is cheaper. Most of the things are cheaper, except the things that you buy in the US, like clothing and nice shoes and stuff. Those are expensive.
We've noticed.
Like electronic stuff.
Yeah. Bill, internet, electricity, water, all of that is a fraction of what we are used to paying over there. So that's really nice. The one thing that is not necessarily that cheap is rents, because now there's just a lot of people moving in.
We've noticed here,
especially Puerto Vallarta.
Yes, they are. They're kind of keeping up with the US now, right? Because that's what they're used to paying out there. But once you moved in, like for example, high-speed internet with all these bells and whistles is like $60.
Right.
And we're used to paying almost $150 in Canada. So that's things that you can expect. But above everything is just to not be so trustworthy. Like, you have to keep your wits about you. Walking the streets, talking to strangers is a lot of fun, but as long as you bring your heart, but don't forget your brain.
Yeah. Very good advice.
Good.
Oh, well, again, we thank you all, for sitting down with us and sharing your experience. Again, lots of valuable information I think we covered today. So thank you all again. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you for joining our interview. Give great information.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
And thank y'all. And so we'll talk to y'all next time. If you have any questions or comments, let us know. We can pass them on, and maybe we can get y'all some information. And thanks for watching. All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.